Hello everyone, welcome to Jack Literary Corner. I'm Jackie, and this is a continuation of Book Bingo. So I've already told you about the first row and the second row. Oh, wait, no, I'm not finished with the second row yet. So let's get started. So the next book is a book with an ugly cover. So I had trouble with this because I'm not someone who really, yes, I definitely notice covers, but I don't buy books just because of a cover. Although why would someone buy a book because of an ugly cover? It's probably, but I don't have a lot of books that I consider the covers ugly. I'm just not one of those people that considers the covers of books. Yeah, I kind of do in a little bit, because, the covers of romance novels, I don't like those. A lot of times, more specifically, the ones that are, mass market. They come in mass market versions, mostly. Like the Harlequin covers. The ones that the ones that you could buy at Walmart or the airport. But I did manage to find one, but I think this is supposed to be ugly anyway, because it's a horror. And that is Scary Stories Treasury. This was one that I spotted at Books A Million, and my friend, I bought this when Terry was visiting, and she was like, you know what, go buy it. I don't blame you, especially because it was, in the clearance section. It's basically, a treasury of collection of those scary stories to tell in the dark. They're really short stories, only a couple pages long. Sometimes only a paragraph long. Scary stories to tell in the dark. More scary stories to tell in the dark. Scary stories. More tales to chill your bones. And it's basically an anthology of little really short scary stories. And I remember really loving this as a kid. It's funny that I loved scary stuff as a kid. Although I didn't watch a lot of those slasher movies or those 80 horror films. This first one, The Big Toe, is only 2 pages or 3. Well, it's only 3 pages long. 1, 2, 3. 3 pages long. And then you have the next story, which is it's only a page, half a page, almost half a page long. But they are so much fun. And look at this, and I love these covers, but look, see how ugly this face is? It's so ugly, but it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be ugly because it's supposed to be scary. So, yeah. So this is my ugly cover pick. Okay, let's see. So next, let's see what the next category is. So originally for this category, the next category is romance, and originally I was going to do North and South, but, because that's by Elizabeth Gaskell, not the Jonathan Jakes novel, but Elizabeth Gaskell novel, which is kind of like a North and South type story set in the industrial era of England. And I was gonna, I love the miniseries, and the book is pretty good, but it's a slow-moving book, so I've kind of lost interest. I'm not that I've lost interest permanently, and since I'm taking this class on British literature, I figured maybe I need to put that one aside for a little while. So I switched it to Voyager by Diana Gabaldon, the third book in the series. Again, the problem with picking these books is they will take me a long time. These kind of books. So I will not get this read in a month unless I don't have anything distracting me. And unfortunately, I have a lot of distractions currently. So, But this is the third book. Basically, this whole series about this woman from the 1940s. It's right after World War II, and she and her husband have decided to go to Scotland to rekindle their relationship and their marriage, kind of a second honeymoon. But then Claire, the woman, somehow ends up getting, through these magical stones, she is transported back into the 1700s of Scotland, and she is caught in the war between the Jacobites and the British. And she doesn't, and because the British aren't as nice, she has to go and pretend to be married to a Jacobite to protect herself from the British, because she's also a woman. And that's basically about their relationship, how they slowly become to, the first book is how they slowly begin to love each other, and the second book is when they go to France and trying to make a deal with Prince Charles, Bonnie Prince Charles. And this third book is, I don't know what the third book is about, because but we know eventually Claire does go back to the present, her present, and she has a daughter who is the Scottish guy, Jamie's daughter, but her husband in 1940, Frank, decides to raise the girl as his. So it's about the little love. It's kind of about that love triangle, and it's about her relationship with her daughter and how she tries to get back to Jamie. And that's really all I understand that this book is about. And this is actually my cousin's edition. My cousin Allie, when she was visiting, she gave me this one, and we ended up buying another. She bought. Well, originally I was gonna buy it, so she wouldn't have to give me this one. But then she was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and buy it for myself, and then so I have a nicer copy, and you can keep this one. Not in a mean way, but in a, you know what, it's just easier if I just buy this one and then you keep this one. Okay, so the next, that is romance. Okay, so the next one is a reread. This is a series that I've been wanting to read because when I read each book in the series, the first 3 books, there was so much time between each books that, like, I don't remember a lot of stuff. So I decided, you know what, before I get back into reading the 4th book, I'm just gonna, because I did start the 4th book, I'm gonna go ahead and just reread from the beginning. And that is Stephen King's The Dark Tower series, and the first book being The Gunslinger. This is about a man, a gunslinger. It's a kind of another world, like it's a fantasy, and he is trying to get to the dark. Our main character, Roland, the gunslinger, is trying to get to the Dark Tower, and he's being chased by the Man in Black, who is the bad guy. And this is kind of a multi-dimensional story. Like, he comes to our world, and he comes to a bunch of other worlds. And during his travels, he gathers together a group of people, and he calls them his quartet, and they help him get to the Dark Tower and defeat the Man in Black. And like I said, there's so much time in between the first 3 books that I don't remember a lot of stuff. So even though a booktuber said I don't have to reread it, that as soon as I read the 4th book, it will all come back to me. But I decided I feel like I should reread it. I mean, it's not going to kill me. And the 4th book is also, like, they say that you don't have to read the 4th book because it's not the main overarching plot in the 4th book. It's really Roland telling his companions a story. At least that's what I heard. So it's a story within a story. Okay, so next, the next book that I'm going to read is it is a book that has been written in a different language, and I chose. No, you stay on your side in your pile. is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Fyodor Dostoevsky. He's a Russian author, and so originally this was a Russian novel translated by Constance Garnett. It is about a man who is sent to prison, and he decides he wants to I don't know. I think like he gets in prison and he tries to break out or something. He's like wrongly accused or something. I don't know, but it's translated from Russian to English, so I'm going to read it. This was actually what pointed this book out to me was at trivia night at work. One of the questions was about this book, and then my dad was kind of teasing me about how, like, because I couldn't figure out the answer, so I finally decided afterwards, I'm going to actually check out the book. Okay, so that is my translated book. Okay, so the next one is, I don't have a your choice yet. That's the next category, it's your choice, and I have not picked out a your choice yet. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to read a book that I got recently, or do I want to read a book that I've had for a long time, and I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. Okay, so the next book is The Last Book You Bought, and this technically is no longer the last book I bought, but it was the last book I bought at the time when I was filling this thing out and picking the books and writing them down. And that is Empire Falls by Richard Russo. This is textured pages too. So I could have used this one. I could use this one for textured pages, but I already chose one for that. So, this is basically about like this town, this small town, and all the people in this town. And something happens in the town that it affects the whole town or something. I don't know. But it was made into a mini-series not that long ago, and I was kind of interested in the mini-series, but I never got around to really watching the whole thing. But I've been wanting to read the book, and then I saw it at the bookstore, and, I got this at the used bookstore, so it was kind of cheap, so it was pretty cheap for hardback, so I went ahead and bought it. And I really hope I like it. I'm assuming I will, because I do, I like character-driven stories, too. Okay, so next book is a read in a day. So I figured I will go with a graphic novel for that one. I don't know if I will actually read it in a day. Who knows? And that is, and actually I already started, so it's kind of a cheat in a way because I've already started it. And that is the Gotham Sirens Volume 1. So this is basically about Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Harley Quinn. It's kind of their adventures. And currently Harley Quinn has broken up with Joker, and she is living with Selina and Ivy as of right now. But of course, they have a pretty messed up. Harley and Joker have a pretty messed up relationship. So it's hard for her to let go of the Joker and move on. So far it's kind of fun, and we do get a little bit, I have read a little bit about the Riddler and stuff, and so we've got a little bit of him from what I've read so far, and this guy is, an old partner of the Joker's, is trying to get revenge, because he feels like Harley messed him up and influenced Joker in a bad way. So he tries to kill her, and that's what I've read so far. It's pretty good. If you like the whole Batman series, and if you like the female characters of Gotham, I definitely recommend it. But like I said, I haven't finished it yet, so I'm gonna read the rest of it at some point this month. I'm gonna try to anyway. So yep, this is the one book. This is the book that I'm going to try to read in a day. But who knows if that will actually happen. Okay, so next, but I figure it's a comic book, so maybe I will read it in a day. Okay, so the next row is, on your TBR for over 6 months. So I got this, I believe, I kind of guessed on this one. I believe I got this book before, when we first got here, and we've been here for almost a year now, so I'm assuming it's been 6 months. Over 6 months. So, and that is The Flight of Jenna Hardy, which is a 1950s retelling of Jane Eyre, which is one of my favorite classics. I hope this is really good, and, I can't wait to read it. But, again, I just bought it, so I didn't want to get to it right away. So, this is a book that I believe I've had for over 6 months. Okay, so, the next book is a book with textured pages. And like I said, I could have done Empire Falls, but I didn't realize that at the time. And even if I had, I don't know if I would want to do the same book for 2 different categories. Although it would save me a lot of reading. And the book I chose is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. This is about this woman whose husband just died, so she's a widow. It's her and her little boy, and they go to, I believe, Scotland, and they hear about the legend of the Essex Serpent. And she and this gentleman decide to figure what the deal is with this Essex Serpent. That's all I know. Probably not the best summary description, but I haven't got very far in it. I already started it because I just had the urge to start it one time, and I love this cover. It's so pretty. So yes, I do notice beautiful covers. So I cannot wait to read. I believe this book was on one of those book list kind of things, the Woman's Prize, one of those prize lists, I believe. But I don't know. Okay, so next is a book that's a booktuber suggestion. And the book I chose is Nevernight. I finally got this one. I could not find, it was not in Books A Million. They had a second book, God's Grave, but they did not have the first book, which was annoying because not people want to get started in the series, and it wasn't there. The first book wasn't there. So, this was a book recommended, the booktuber Pierre Ford, who is, I think she's Australian, an Australian booktuber. She absolutely loves this book. And there are other people that I think, possibly Reagan from Peruse Projects. I can't remember, but mostly Pierre Ford. She constantly talks about how great this book is, how much she loves it. I mean, and recently I watched one of her videos where she said every time she hears the name Mia, she associates it with this book because it's the name of our main character who is on the cover. So even if another book that has nothing to do with this book, the main character's name is Mia, or there's a character named Mia, she will automatically think of this book. And I hear this book is a book that, if you has the elements that people would have loved to have in the Throne of Glass series, because in Throne of Glass, our main character Selena is supposed to be an assassin, but she doesn't do a lot of assassinating in the book. In fact, when she officially becomes the king's assassin, she is against the idea of killing for him, which is not, it's good. I mean, it's not a bad thing. But when people read books where the character is supposed to be an assassin, they want people assassinating people. That's what they want. So, like I said, I hear this one actually has a character doing what assassins do. So yep, I'm going to read this for a booktube suggestion. Next is a retelling, and the book I chose for the retelling category is Winter by Marissa Meyer. This is the fourth book in a series. This is basically a sci-fi retelling of the fairy tales. The first one is about Cinderella, is a retelling of Cinderella. The second one is a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. The third one is a retelling of Rapunzel, and this one is a retelling of Snow White. And it's Winter in the title. And basically the whole series, like I said, it's a sci-fi retelling of these classic fairy tales. You have in the first book you have Cinder, who is half cyborg, half human. There was a car crash. She is told, there was a car crash, and so they could not. The only way they could bring her back she could live again is if they replaced her body parts with cyborg parts. So she lives with the guy, I think he's supposed to, I know he's not the one who actually put her together, but she's taken in by this man who's a scientist and his family. But then he dies of the plague, which has infiltrated Earth, because they live in a futuristic world where there was quite a few world wars, and now the world is divided into the Commonwealth, which is all the Asian countries. You have the European Federation, which is France and Russia and all those European countries that aren't the UK. You have the UK, which is Scotland and Ireland in the United Kingdom. Well, I guess it would be Ireland. I mean, I don't know if she intended to include Ireland in that part of the world, but I guess not, because by the time she published this book, Ireland was its own separate country. It's been like that for a while. And then you have Africa, and Cinder takes place in New Beijing, in China. And Cinder is a mechanic in the story, and she's approached by the prince of the emperor, he's the prince, but then his father contacts the plague, and he becomes the emperor, to fix his android that has some secret information that he needs. Information about the long-lost princess of the moon colony. There are people that live on the moon, and they are ruled by this tyrant, Levana, on this planet, they have some of the people, the Lunars, as they call themselves, have the ability to manipulate bioelectricity. So that makes them a big threat. And Levana has been trying to form an alliance with Earth, so she sets her sights on the Emperor of New Beijing, because he's young enough, and he's the only one that isn't married yet, or isn't betrothed to anyone. But she is basically a tyrant, and eventually, once she buries him, she plans to kill him and take over his part of Earth. And Cinder finds out about this and decides to warn the guy, the emperor, the prince, the emperor, Khan. But of course, there is a bit of a romance. The two of them fall in love, just like in Cinderella. So it's it's basically about that. I don't want to tell you anymore. It's such a great, fun series, and this is the fourth book in the series, about another character, a lunar princess, who would have ruled Lunar if something happened to her stepmother, Levana. Because, as you know, in the story of Snow White, she's not her real mom. The evil queen isn't her real mom. Although apparently in the very first rendition of Snow White, in stories that inspired Snow White, one of the stories it was her actual mom. It might have been, I guess, in the original Snow White, it was her biological mom. It was her mom. But people were worrying, kids, that would traumatize kids. So they were like, let's make her stepmom instead. So I had to read this. This is my retelling. I'm going to read because, again, another book that I've started and I haven't gotten back to yet. Because I can never decide which books I want to read. Okay, so enough of that. Next is a 2017 release, which I am not sure. I think this was released in 2017. It might have been released in 2016. Dang, I have to stretch. Okay, and that is My Lady Jane. I finally decided to get around to this because My Plain Jane is coming out, or has come out, and I know technically I don't have to read because it's not like this is My Plain Jane is not like a continuation of this story. The authors are basically writing all these stories about famous Janes in history, whether they're fictional or not. Like My Plain Jane is about Jane, a retelling of Jane Eyre done in a more silly, fun kind of way, and this one is about the 8-day queen, Jane Seymour, or I don't know. It might be Jane Seymour, it might be someone else. Another Jane, but Lady Jane Grey. Okay, so she's, wait, I don't know. I don't know if she's supposed to marry, if she's one of the women that marries Henry Tudor or not. But yeah, it's about her, and from what I hear, they gave her a more happier ending, because historically, this Lady Jane Grey did not have a happy ending. But yeah, and I finally decided I want to read this because I keep hearing about it and how great and how funny it is. And like I said, I want to read My Plain Jane, but I felt, even though I don't have to, I felt like I kind of wanted to read. I want to read the books, all the books in their little series, even if I don't have to. Okay, so the next category is you own but not read, and that the book I chose for that because I need to read it, and I also need to read. I don't know, is Empire of Storms, because despite my current feelings, especially how I still want to continue out the series because I love all the characters. I'm not too big of a fan of our main character Selena anymore, or I should say Aelin. She's not my favorite person anymore. She's not my favorite character. I just read the books for the other characters and for the adventure and stuff. But this is the 5th book, and what I really want to read is Tower of Dawn, but I figure I need to read this first, or what I might do, what I thought about doing is reading them at the same time, so, I might do that instead, but either way, I gotta read this book. Like I said, this is the 5th book in the series. Okay, so next is a novella, and I need to keep reading this and continuing this. I'm slowly reading this one, and that is The Bane Chronicles. I think I'm past halfway. Let's see. I have to read the book I last stopped at was the story I last stopped at. It was, I think was it The Midnight Air, or is that the one I just finished? Oh no, Saving Raphael Santiago. So I think this is when Raphael is turned into a vampire. This is about one of my favorite characters in Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter world, Magnus Bane, who's a warlock, a very charming bisexual warlock. These are kind of some of his stories and his adventures, like before he got involved with the Shadowhunters he's been involved with, and also in between that, and how he becomes, so let's see, although her novellas, I feel like they kind of feel like they're not, okay, so, let's see, so I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I read 5 stories so far, and I have to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to read 6 stories to finish it. Like I said, I'm on Saving Rafael Santiago, so I think this is when he gets turned into a vampire. So I want to finish this, but I don't know if I'll finish it or not. I don't like to do a lot. The only readathon I like to do is the tomes readathon, where you read your tomes, tome topple readathon, because then I have 2 weeks and there's less pressure. But although this is a month, problem is because now I have Are Afraid of the Dark on Blu-ray. That's kind of been taking priority. Okay, so the next one is a sci-fi. So I've been getting into sci-fi lately, and I finally got around to this series, the Illuminae Files. So this is the first one, Illuminae, and I recently bought the second one, where is it? Gemina. And then I'm going to wait. I don't know when I'm going to get the third one, Obsidio, which is the end of it. I don't know if I'm going to wait until it gets on paperback or just buy it on hardback. I guess it depends on how eager I am to read the third one. But what's great about this one is it's told in mixed media. And I guess the reason why some people won't sum it up is because it's kind of confusing. I think there was a crash or something. And some people were trying to steal, and it's in the future, I believe. This is about 2 main characters, Katie and Ezra Mason, and the book starts with Katie breaking up with Ezra, and it's them, and the government is trying to figure out what happened, not their relationship, but what happened with the crash and everything. And it's told through emails and interviews and files. It's really cool, and it's a quick read because of that. And it has pictures and stuff in it. It's by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And Jay Kristoff is the same guy who wrote Nevernight. I don't know what Amy Kaufman has done. Oh, and Katie spells her name like Katie on Mean Girls. Kady, which I found really funny. So far I've read a little bit of it. I'm on page 73. It's hard to find a stopping point. So that is my sci-fi. I had quite a few sci-fi choices. Okay, next is a new release. So I went ahead and chose. Okay. Just go ahead and bring both these books over here. Tower of Dawn, which was actually, it's not a new release anymore, or it was released earlier this year, so I think it was released earlier this year. This is the seventh, is this the 7th book? No, it's the 6th book. The 6th book in the series. I got this for $4.97 at Books A Million. It was on the bargain display, the bargain table. So I went ahead and bought it. Unfortunately, it's not one of those fancy editions with pictures and stuff. It's basically plain. But I went ahead and got it because it was cheap, and I didn't want to wait until I was done waiting for it, because it's really hard. Once you're part of the book tip community, you constantly are hearing about these popular books that are out, and you want to buy them right now. So it's hard to wait. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. And like I said, I might read this one and Empire Storms at the same time, because I think you can do it, because I think they kind of run parallel to each other with the plots. I don't know. Maybe if any of you have read this series, any of you are Throne of Glass fans that are my subscribers, maybe you can tell me if I could get away with that. But I'm going to do that. And then the last category is a hyped book. And all of her books have been hyped. and so Sarah J. Maas's book, so I could always pick one of Sarah J. Maas's books. But I went ahead and picked the last book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, although she is writing more books. Because I do need to read. Earlier this year I read the second book, A Gathering of Shadows, or I think it's the second one is Gathering of Shadows. Oh, yeah, Gathering of Shadows, because A Darker Shade of Magic is the first one. So I need to read this one anyway, so I went ahead and picked this one. Which, it's funny because, on the day I bought this one was, I also bought Home, a memoir of my early years by Julie Andrews, and that is also a white book. So it's funny, I got two white books. This one has black in it. So I went ahead and like I said, I need to read this one anyway. So all these books, some of these books, or at least half of these books, I do need to read anyway. So, and then also there are a couple books here that I have two other books that I didn't put in my bingo, although I guess I could put them down for, one of them down for, your choice. And that is Roseblood, which is a Phantom of the Opera retelling and set in modern times. So, just to warn you, it's not historical. It's about this girl who has a gift, a beautiful voice, but it seems like when she sings, and like she can't help it, she can't control herself. As soon as she hears opera, she has to sing it. It says a Phantom of the Opera inspired retelling. It still says referred to as retelling. But her gift seems to hurt people. Like, she believes it killed her father. I'm still not 100% sure on that front. But I think it does imply she might be a succubus. And they're going with the approach of maybe the Phantom is an incubus. I don't know, but yeah, basically her mom is sending her to a special school, boarding school in France, which is the building of the school is in the building that was inspired by opera, that inspired opera populaire in the original Phantom story. I don't know if this is everything in this book is accurate or not, or true or not. I don't know, but maybe, I don't know if that part of it is true. But basically it has all the elements of school story, the new girl, she's a new girl and she's already attracted attention to the school bully, or the school diva, I should say, and she has her group of friends who are a little bit unique and eccentric and stuff, and she's very shy and stuff and doesn't want to draw attention to herself, but she can. She does anyway without meaning to. It's just all the typical elements of these kind of, and she ends up being like, marked for something in a way, and so far it's pretty good. And I also I need to start getting into An Ember in the Ashes, because the last book, A Reaper at the Gates, just came out. So I need to get back into this. I need to get into the series soon, because I heard it's really good. And I actually thought this was the one, when I was looking, I thought this might have been the one that was going to be made into a movie, but it was actually, The Darkest Mind is the one that was made into a movie, so that's why I bought it, because I thought this one was the one that was going to be a movie, but, like I said, it was Darkest Minds is the one that is a movie, so I ended up not getting it, but I'm still going to read it, because I'm sure I'll still love it. So, anyway. So, those are my bingo reads for this month. I probably won't get through them. I don't intend to get bingo. I'm just using this as a TBR. If you guys liked these two videos, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you are currently enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye!